Good morning, everyone who may be listening to this. I am speaking from a place of what we might call raw and real. It's a place of vulnerability, a place where uncertainty is you might say, the backdrop in the mind. It's the place where we reach out to whatever we consider the trusting place within the universe, inside or outside of us. And there's many names for what that might be for every individual person. It may be God, it may be love, it may be guardian angel, it can be any number of source-named places, things, items, images. We all have them. We all have trusted resources. If we make it a point to check into them, I think anyone would say that they never let us down. They're always custom made for us because it's us who is getting to know our true selves better, however you name it. And if we are able to truly listen to that voice, I call your one true voice streaming, then things in life just somehow work out better. But the better that the working out is often not familiar to our comfort zone or way things are or have been in our lives. I'll give you a very quick example this morning. I was supposed to go to a networking meeting at 8 o'clock, about 45 minutes away. I had made the determination I was going to go, set the alarm to get up on time, to be there on time. And I start out, and I'm just a little bit late again, and this seems to happen when I go to this place. I always make a determination to go, and then I find myself getting there later, not going at the last minute, or what have you. Well, it turns out this particular day, I was feeling very uncertain, and I was driving away to get there, and suddenly I couldn't go further. I couldn't go forward. And I stopped on the side of the road, and I was feeling so much uncertainty after all of my resolve to do something that I really think is very important for me to do. So I stop and I ask my true self, what should I do? And the suggestion immediately was go and be with the people there. And then on the way there, for a full 30 minutes, I had a conversation with my true self. In the particular case, I called this part of myself Chuck. Now, Chuck is a male name, and Chuck, in my inner realms, is the voice for my business activity. It represents my communications, my financial, my legal, my technology, my marketing of my business. This is an area that is very new and very challenging for me. Is what I'm calling getting my work out to the world. And this has been going on, this particular challenge has been going on almost a year now, probably a year come midsummer. So I'm a season away from the birth of this directive to get your work out to the world publicly as a business. I can't tell you how challenging this is. I can't tell you how raw I feel, how vulnerable I feel in doing something like that, because all of the fears that come up about, oh, you shouldn't be charging, and oh, money's evil, all these things. And I don't consciously, conceptually agree with any of that. However, when we face our fears, and facing our fears is not easy because they kind of hide away inside of you and say, oh, I'm not afraid. I'm ready to face any fears. I'm ready to be vulnerable to anything. Well, anyway, the fact is that my fear was crawling all over my body, and I was feeling all kinds of things. In fact, the fear was so terrible that I actually was finding myself falling asleep in the previous 2 days. I'd be in the middle of doing something that was a part of my new efforts, and I would fall asleep right in the middle of a video. And I was so asleep, I couldn't not sleep. So I took myself to bed and went to sleep in the middle of the day. And then I got up and I was feeling refreshed, and I got into my mode of advancing my practice and so on. and developing my skills, doing tasks that I know that are important to my business life and my personal life and my truth life. And once again, I fall asleep. And it's like, what happened? Why am I falling asleep? Well, I said, okay, I'm going to trust my true self. My true self says, go to sleep. Because you need to go to sleep so we can rewire you to be able to expand your comfort zone, to take in things that you're totally not comfortable with. And I did discover in something I listened to this past week that we do have set in us already, all of us do, have a range of what we consider to be not okay and okay, meaning we have a range of just how much we can handle physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. What's the bottom limit of negativity? What cannot possibly imagine having to do? And the top level of success, it's called fear of success and failure. So realizing all of these things that I've heard, and much more things that I've heard about all this, there's no end to information about all of this. So I'm almost at my destination, going to this networking meeting. I'm running late, and I'm saying, well, the message was just go and be there with the people, and everything will be fine. And you will practice getting used. And I'm thinking about what I'm going to say when it's my turn to speak from my business, and I'm coming up with some new phrases for it. And my business way of saying is, I'm Regina St. Clair. Get clear with Claire for the health and wealth of it. That was the new phrase that came to me. This is good for your health and good for your wealth in your life and in your business, and so on and so on. So all of these phrases of how I would tag myself as a business, so people know who I am. Regina St. Clair is very important because that never changes. But I could change my book title, or I could change my focus, or I could change a number of other things. But I still have to have something stable, and it is my spiritual name, Regina St. Clair. Okay, I'm fine with that. I'm getting out of the parking. I'm parking my car. I'm getting out. It's beginning to rain. I rush inside behind some woman who happens to be walking in front of me, and I'm rushing right behind her at her pace in her spiky shoes. She's probably a social worker. I get inside, I go blazing past the entrance. Please sign in if you come here because I'm late. I run down the hall. I get to the room, and there's the door. And nobody's there. I don't know what happened. Did I get the wrong date? I show up, and nobody's there. Well, all I can imagine is that I have the wrong date. I wrote it down wrong. I didn't pay attention. I didn't something or other. I don't know what I did. Part of me was really relieved that I didn't have to go to this networking meeting because that would definitely please my comfort zone that feels so insecure and so raw and so vulnerable about getting my life up and out in business. And mind you, I had prepared to do this. I had everything set up, and this was what I experienced from the moment I got up and was late and did get there, and no one was there. So I had another appointment to go to a tech session at Apple for my podcast that I'm developing. And I'm right now sitting in the parking lot of the mall facing JCPenney. It's 9:45-ish. And I have a 10 o'clock appointment to do this. And I'm reporting this because I want myself and everybody else to understand this experience of being raw and real and vulnerable is normal. What's a part of the new norm, I call it, is that we need to own these experiences. We need to accept the fact that we have these experiences because it connects us with everybody else. It doesn't leave us out. And how nice to feel connected to people's vulnerability and rawness and realness is perfectly fine. And I find it very comforting that I don't have to suffer through this alone because I know that this is the condition of our lives. And that if we can just genuinely accept ourselves in this condition, that it gives us access not only to our common humanity, which is so important to experience, and it also opens the door and requires and demands that we get our guidance through this from a place that we do not normally get our directions for life. Because the One True Voice streaming, which is custom made for each one of us, always gives us the guidance we need. And it may not look like it. My guidance this morning, go to the meeting. They didn't tell me not to go because no one would be there. What they were really telling me is, you made up your mind to do this. And look what happened. You resisted it. You had a lot of fear and uncertainty about it. And it was the experience of the fear and the uncertainty and being real and raw and vulnerable that I was experiencing that I can now share with you, because I often am not able myself to get in touch with my own fears. I can conceptually say you have to face your fear, and yet the anatomy of the fear, the physiology of the fear, was not something that I had probably allowed myself to experience, because it means that I'm less than. Here I am teaching people how to do something without even really understanding and accepting and sharing vulnerably that I too experience that. So if I have any ability to help anybody, it's because we are one. And in my little place in the great big puzzle of life, where I represent one tiny piece in that numberless puzzle. It has so many pieces, they're uncountable, okay? But it's still a puzzle. I still represent one piece of that puzzle. I still can be in my place in the puzzle, and there's only one place that I can be in that puzzle. My piece fits in one particular place. Once I glue myself down to that one place, that is a huge service to the world. It is a service that invites others to say, oh my goodness, she knows who she is, she knows her place, and now I can see how I fit next to here. And others can see how, because, a puzzle piece generally has 3 or 4 other connecting pieces that are connected to another 20 pieces, another 50 pieces, 100 pieces. It connects to everything. But if I'm wandering around not sure of who I am and what my piece is and where I am to be, then I have no connection to the whole. So not only am I not being true to myself, I'm not living the true life. So all I have to know is, what piece am I, and am I placed? Am I glued down? Am I anchored? Am I one with the divine plan that you could say that puzzle board is? I'm using this metaphor because it really makes sense to me, and people I've shared it with says, wow, that's a great metaphor. So if the road to being true to yourself and gluing yourself, anchoring yourself down to your true place in life, if that's what it takes, then it's well worth it. It's well worth it to suffer through that uncertainty, face that uncertainty, embrace that uncertainty, be glad for the uncertainty. Because all it can do is give you probably the most valuable one thing you can have, is knowing who you are and where you belong, and that you are one with all that is. That's really the big message. And I hope this message will be useful to you. I hope it will be something that you can receive, not just hear conceptually, and appreciate the suffering that I'm doing for you. Because it's all of our suffering, it's all of our struggle, it's all of what it takes to be true to ourselves. And it's a loving opportunity to not only do this, but to hope, give it to you as a gift, so we know that we're on the right track. Thank you for listening.